I've been watching so much anime recently. Some good and some not so good. But just when I think I finally found the best show of the season, I find a confusing group of British men putting bread in corners and performing rituals. Now that's what I'm calling a show, baby. Lord of Mysteries is a show you probably haven't heard a lot about. And if you have heard about it, I'm sure it was mostly bad things. Constant talk about how confusing the power system is, how the plot is too complicated to be enjoyable, and an overall negative perception seeming to be the dominant force behind talks of the show. Because of this, I was incredibly hesitant to start the series. Why even bother trying something out that's notorious for being unenjoyable in one way or another? Well, despite my better judgment, I tried it out, and damn, it's good. But before I get too into why it's good, let me give you a little breakdown of what Lord of Mysteries is all about. We open with our main character, Klein Moretti, a recent college graduate in a Victorian-era society, who just tried to take his own life, either successfully or unsuccessfully depending on how you look at it, because Klein Moretti as the world knew him is gone, with a completely separate individual from our world unwillingly taking his place. Klein is physically still there, but it's a different person in the same body type of situation. You're probably wondering by now, how did this occur? Well, our main character ended up here after attempting a ritual for good luck. Outside of that, we just don't know. We're as in the dark about this as our MC is, but the reality of the situation is that he's stuck here in Klein's body until he finds a way to get back home. So we're off to a good start, right? After coming to terms with his new reality, Klein is thrust into this altered Victorian-era world, full of people just trying to get by. But there's this underlying veil of mysticism surrounding everything. It's known here that this stuff isn't just stories, it's real. There are people out there with wild fantasy powers called Beyonders. Can you see where this is going? These Beyonders can have powers from roughly 22 different pathways, with an incredible variety of prowesses and progressions, with Sequence 9 Beyonders being slightly stronger than normal humans, and Sequence 0 Beyonders being godlike beings. And there's also everything in between those, counting down from 9 to 0, but that's not what's important right now. Before Klein tried to take his life, he got wrapped up in some real nasty mystic business. Some real dangerous people were after him, and mainly a book in his possession. Our new protagonist is left to pick up the pieces, trying to figure out just what's going on in this world. How can he get home? And just what do these Beyonder powers even entail? Well, by the end of the first episode, he receives an offer to become a Beyonder, from what is essentially the police. This is an incredibly dangerous and complicated path to go down, but one that could also lead him home. Needless to say, he accepts, cementing his role in the story, utilizing his unordinary circumstances in the best way he can, all while trying to learn and survive in his new role as a Beyonder. And that's an introduction to the Lord of Mysteries. Let me be abundantly clear, this show is confusing to a degree, but not in the way that a lot of people are portraying it. You aren't flying completely blind. They do explain things. They just give a very baseline description. They really hammer home that there's a power system with 22 pathways and various sequences, eventually culminating in the power wielder / Beyonder becoming a godlike being. But they don't break down every single power from the get-go. It seems that as more pathways are introduced, we get further descriptions of them, rather than bombarding us with hours worth of information dumped in a monologue format. The learn as we go style that's being put on display here kind of reminds me of the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I know this reference is probably lost on most anime fans, but stick with me here. In a similar vein to Lord of Mysteries, Mistborn introduces a bunch of powers, but in Mistborn, they're in the form of metals. These powers are being used from nearly the very beginning of the books, but we, the reader, aren't given the specifics of what they do until much later. They're actively being utilized, but are explained slowly over the course of multiple books, showing us examples of them in action rather than just info dumping us. After watching a bunch of Lord of Mysteries, I can't help but draw parallels. They're showing us the powers in action and are giving us the details at later points, while still not leaving us completely in the dark about them though. I get that not having a complete understanding of the powers within a series can be frustrating. It can be hard to engross yourself while you don't understand all of what's happening. But for me, it didn't impact my viewing experience really at all here. It isn't like JJK where shit is just happening and you just have to accept it because cursed energy and imagination, or whatever. There's clearly defined rules here and, I mean, a whole class system. Look at the tree. But at this point in time, we the viewers simply do not have a comprehensive understanding of this system. My point here is that I see a lot of people making a big deal out of everything not being laid out for us from the start, but this show can still be thoroughly enjoyed while it isn't holding your hand. This may be a hot take, but I like this show, if you couldn't already tell. Not just for how gorgeous the visuals are, but for the creativity behind it. The atmosphere it creates every episode is second to none. Its themes of eldritch horror and mysticism are combined into something truly unique. And not for nothing, but the production on this show is insane. Every episode is movie-level quality that I can't even fathom being put in place for an episodic show. And it's already renewed for seasons 2 and 3. It's wild, I can't even believe that. I haven't watched anything like Lord of Mysteries before, and while it's certainly not without its faults, I think it's a production that absolutely deserves your time and attention. So if you haven't already, give the show a shot. You won't be disappointed. Hey everyone, I just want to say thank you if you made it this far into the video. I really appreciate it. Do you agree that Lord of Mysteries is a solid series, or do you think it's just an overcomplicated mess? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. And as always, have a great day.